Good evening, everyone, and my name is Tommy Bottoms, and welcome to What It Do Book Review, where we take a current novel and we do an in-depth character exploration with the author. This week's book, Nah Nigga, I Ain't Doing No Double, written by a longtime good friend of mine, the infamous Cola Rum.
All right,
Cola,
brother.
appreciate you hanging out with me today.
The pleasure's all mine, brother. The pleasure's all mine.
So, before we get started, Cola, I want to tell you, like I said, man, I've been looking forward to this all week, so I really want to jump right into this before we get into our character of choice today, who is Pierre Christopher Harris, who's
Yes.
a character that I can't wait to really get off into. But before we get into that, let's get into your character, Malcolm Xavier Murray.
Yes.
And it was something that was interesting in the book of how you describe your character, right? And you describe yourself as someone who adores the enchanting stellar beauty that is the day. I love the lunar glazed blackness at day's end, the undraping of the sheep's clothing, the suspension of the solar smoke and mirrors, the nakedness of life that is the night.
Yes.
What is it that intrigues Mr. Murray about the night?
Well, the night.
Because you remember, Houdini said the freaks come out at night.
Freaks come out.
So is that true, or is it a little more
Yeah,
true?
it's true. The freaks come out at night. And that's one of the intriguing things about the night is that when the sun is up and you're in a first world country, the modernity of the first world country with the malls, the highways, you tend to forget about the earth is a real barbaric place. But when the sun drops and goes down and all of the night people come out, you are reminded of how brutal and vicious the earth is because people run into their houses to hide.
Nobody's scared in the daytime.
No one's scared in the daytime. Everybody is out moving around. But when that sun drops and that moon comes up, you know, a lot of people go into the house. And a different type of people come out into the streets.
What type of people?
The type of people who closer to nature, closer to nature than the people that's in the house that comes out. Yeah.
The environment. You mean?
Yeah, closer to the environment. The people who loves the environment to an extreme degree, they come out at night, you know, and as your grandmother and all the old ladies used to always tell you, ain't nothing outside after 2 o'clock but the devil. But when you think about it, it really, I mean, in a third world country, they know they're in a barbaric place. They know, man,
24/7.
this is a dangerous place we live in. But in first world countries, we really don't realize how barbaric the earth is until that sun goes down, that moon comes up.
We always get shocked when people say something happened in broad daylight.
Yeah, we're shocked. Yeah. I can't, in broad daylight. Yeah.
Where you feel the safest.
Yeah, when you feel the safety, because that sun is up. When that sun is up, man, everybody feels safe. And
So not to cut you off, but because there's a lot I want to get at. Now Murray works as a security guard and an unarmed security guard.
Yeah.
To be specific, which you describe as the bottom of the protection for hire food chain. Nobody really gives a fuck about us.
No.
Not considered the foundation stones, even though we are the foundation.
Yes.
Now, with that invisibility, if you will, as far as being a security guard, no one paying attention to you, it also provides you with a access to other things that are going on in people's private lives. The people are speaking around you in very candid ways because you're invisible.
We're an invisible class.
You call that a perk?
Yeah, it's a perk. We're the service class. One of the perks of being in the service class is that people don't see nothing but the uniform. That's all they see. People see a waiter, they see a butler, they see a chauffeur, they see a security guard. They don't care what's going on in your life. And not only they see a waiter, they see a dumb waiter. That's they look at you as dumb class. So people let their guards down, just like how people put their guards up when it's night. They let the guard down. They come around service people. and they'll talk about everything. You'll be amazed at the stuff people talk about around you.
Do you think that's a sense of safety, or is that a sense of I don't care, or because I don't have to care because I feel safe, or I don't care because they're not part of my class?
You're indifferent to them. You're just a person. You really don't exist.
Yeah.
You're basically like a robot. You're a maid. You're here to clean my linens. You know, if you're a waiter, you're here to take my order and make sure that cook get the order. So you're really just an invisible class that a lot of people are indifferent to, and they don't realize how many things they disclose to you, because they're constantly just talking. They forget you're there sometimes.
Yeah.
I've had people forget that I was sitting in the room with them. They just forget, just talk about all type of intimate details from their lives. So it's basically that we are an invisible class, and yeah, that's one of the perks. Because, I mean, and if you think about it, when you see people, spies, or if you see somebody who get caught, who they get caught by? Service people.
Yeah.
You know, who do TMZ make the most money from?
Yeah.
Service people.
Yeah.
Because we're flies on the wall. Yeah.
Now, one of the themes in the book, what I notice is that thing of night and day, dark, light.
Yeah.
Do you think that being invisible, like that kind of that fly on that wall, kind of gives you an insight? Because you really get an insight into the dark side of people, but do you think being able to have those candid moments like that when people are speaking around you gives you a certain amount of insight into
human nature? Human nature, because they taking the mask off. You know, everybody out here pretending. You know, they pretend all day long when they're around, when their camera's on. Everybody pretending. When they think important people around, everybody's pretending. But when they get around people they think not important, they take the mask off. And so you get to see people's true nature. You get to see people's true in-depth nature. If you go and talk to like a Mexican maid that speaks real good English, man, she probably got all type of stories she can tell you, because to them she's just a Mexican maid. You know, you go and talk to the Jamaican concierge, he'll tell you all type of stories of the things that go on in the hotel, because people get around him and tell all their business because they take the mask off. So you really get to go deep into human nature. You know, that's all I used to do when I would be around people. I'm just observing these people all day long, and they're not paying me any attention. You know, so and it gives you a real in-depth look into the heart of man.
Because I think also as a security guard, you really get to see, because you're seeing people like in an office building who, you know, I might be the CEO of this.
Exactly.
And I carry myself in a certain way.
Exactly.
In public.
Exactly.
But everybody has this thing that they take off at night when they go home or when they have a drink.
Exactly.
And a side that almost nobody gets to see.
Exactly.
Or the average person won't, unless you're, you know, close family or friends.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the CEO of Amazon or American Express take his towel.
Exactly.
Who they are at that point.
Exactly. But I guarantee you that his chauffeur does.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that lady that come in his office and clean his office while he's still in there, after a certain amount of time, I guarantee you she gets it.
Yeah.
She gets to see that. So yeah, you get to see people when they take their mask off, so you get to see exactly who is underneath the mask.
Now, one of the other perks that you talk about as far as being an unarmed security guard, an invisible person on the wall, you talk about this thing called the freedom of consciousness.
Yeah.
Or the freedom of the conscious mind to naturally think without the hindrance of crunching numbers, selling merchandise, or going over annual reports.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little more about that? Because I think that's and we'll probably get a little bit more into it as we get into the character, but I think there is something to be said about that. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, I say in the novel, that's the golden parachute of working unarmed security, is that you don't have to use your mind to crunch numbers or go over reports like most people do in their day. So you have a free mind, and that free mind, you think about things that the regular person never ever thinks about. And it was like, it's the perfect type of job for an artist. And Malcolm Xavier Murray, he's a poet. He's a spoken word artist. It's the perfect job for him to have time to think about a lot of things that the average person would never think about, you know? So that's why I call it the golden parachute. You're making the minimum wage, but your mind is not hindered with using your mind and your mental energy for somebody else's purposes. You're using it for your own, you know? So that's one of the, I call it the perk, the golden parachute of working on armed contract security is you have a free mind to do whatever you want to do with it.
So does that really helps Murray's his craft as far as his spoken word, that the ability to have to think and be able to pour that into expression.
Exactly. He has 8 hours to just think with himself. He has 8 hours. In the book I say, them 8 hours can be hell, they can be heaven. You know, Murray was constructed with his 8 hours. Murray, Cola, brings books on history of Rome with him to work. He goes to the Central Library and gets classical music and jazz music and go and listen to them jazz music. He goes into the video section and rent old movies from the 50s era and just to study them and see what they're all about. Feeding his art with other art to inspire, you know? So he was just sharpening his steel with other art. And he has 8 hours to do this. So it's a lot you can learn in 8 hours, man. You'll be amazed at what a person can learn in a year. In 8 hours, you'll be amazed what you can learn.
If that time is being used properly.
If the time is being used properly, which most security guards wasn't using it properly.
Now, to kind of stick on the spoken word angle of it, right? Because you consider yourself, or Murray or Cola, whoever, considers yourself one of the elite of this particular genre. And I would agree, you know, I'm not arguing that at all. But one of the things you describe kind of these spoken word artists out here, and I think maybe it goes into how people spend their time, what they think about.
Yeah.
Everybody is not a security guard. You know, you have a lot of artists who just have regular part-time jobs or whatever.
Exactly.
And may not have that. Because you're kind of hard on the spoken word artists a little bit, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not going to disagree, but you describe as the intellectual chatterboxes who always seem to be waxing unconvincingly poetic about their boundless amounts of love they have to give their undying dedication to overthrowing the government. I think that's hilarious. I think that, because I, you know, as someone comes from that, I see a lot of people who, as my one man described it, have read more pamphlets than books. Where you start hearing stuff, and I'm like, where did you get that from?
Exactly.
But then when I hear someone like yourself, and like I said, even I knew what it took to go into this book.
Yeah.
And it comes out in how, you know, when you hear somebody talk about in rap industry or music, they'll say, I recorded this whole album in a week. Typically, it sounds like that.
Exactly. I don't want no album someone recorded in a week.
Something that's a selling point, but really it's like, nah.
I don't want that album.
I don't want that.
I don't want that.
You know? And I think that's what I think comes through. You know, one of the things that I had the pleasure to do, because like I said, I've known you for a long time, but then to be able to see how the mind works. Yeah. You know, on a, you know, because you're being very candid. You know, when you lay out a book this big, you're expressing a lot.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
naked and unashamed.
Yeah, exactly.
Naked and unashamed.
Because even when I found it interesting where when you would introduce your character as a security guard, the first thing you say is, "Don't feel sorry for me."
Don't feel sorry for me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm straight.
Yeah.
Like this is what's feeding me, not you know, beyond just a job and a paycheck, but feed my soul, because I'm probably just as cultured and just as smart as the people who come in here and ignore me.
Exactly. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm working security, but I'm here 8 hours a day. So 8 hours a day while they're slaving for someone to get their money, I'm getting paid to read and study. So don't feel sorry for me. Yeah, like you said, I'm just as coaches as them. They don't know that.
You know, as I'm thinking that's almost like what's the movie Good Will Hunting.
Yeah,
it's almost kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, yeah, he was just smart as those people that were walking around him, but he didn't let them know it.
Yeah.
And I'm like that a lot.
Do you let them know? Have you ever had to like kind of
Some of them catch on to it.
like, oh,
Yeah, a book might be out or something, and I might come back from a bathroom, and someone might be skimming through a book that I'm reading, and they'll look at the book and then they'll stare at me.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm an alien or
Yeah,
something.
like, what you doing reading this?
Yeah. What am I doing reading that? You know. Yeah, and then afterwards, they'll start striking up conversations with me every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now they know.
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot. Yeah, they'll totally ignore you for a whole year.
Yeah.
And then they might come in on the weekend and see a book, and it might be a book that they've read and they got in their study.
Yeah.
And after that, you and that person striking up conversations every time they're coming into a building. Yeah.
So, now we were talking about the useful that how you use that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You use it a certain way. You use it to, study Gordon Parks and the Peloponnesian Wars or whatever,
Yeah.
But everybody doesn't do that.
No.
Harris, for example, doesn't necessarily use that time.
Yeah.
Like, talk about Harris a little bit and how he uses that time.
Harris, whereas Malcolm is an artist, Harris is an unashamed hedonist. He's an unashamed. When I first met him, he would always be talking about strip clubs and prostitutes. But it's Atlanta, so I wasn't paying attention to him. I just, okay, he just do. But then he started kept saying his women. At first I didn't correlate it to the prostitutes. I'm thinking he's talking about women that he go with besides the prostitutes. But as he kept talking and he started getting into all of these stories, he was talented at telling these whole stories about all these prostitutes that he would sleep with. But then I realized something. I said, he actually think that they are his women. And when I figured that out, that's when I started really tuning into the stories that he was telling, because I was really tuning into him, because I was like, all right, this nigga is crazy, But I started, and Harris, he's a guy that he worked as much overtime as he could to get prostitutes from the strip club and go have sex. Then after he would have sex with them, he would go right back to work and work as many hours he can work to do that. That was his life. It was just a small circle. It's just him with these prostitutes. And when he was at the job, he wasn't reading no books, nothing. He was just talking about getting back with his women. And anybody came around, you had to hear these stories that he would just tell. And he would tell and he could tell them well, And he would tell these stories all night long, man. A lot of people would go look at him, wouldn't even go down there. I don't feel like listening to that tonight.
So now. So basically, Harris spends all of his time kind of just focusing in on his perversions. While other people are expanding their mind, he's getting deep into his perversions.
Yeah.
Now, Harris has a particular odor about him.
Yeah.
That you have a very specific, very specific description. You say that he's a noxious mixture that reeks of fucking, masturbation, old sweat, mildew, and moldy cotton combined.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever smelled that. I don't know that I ever want to smell that. But you have a specific reason why. Is it so? This funk or this odor is almost in correlation to like where his mind is at all the time, because obviously cleanliness and all these different things have taken a back seat to his perversion.
Oh yeah, he's a dirt bomb. That's what I called him, a dirt bomb. He was he was a hobo of muck, king of filth, a god of filth. He liked everything filthy, Including his women. He liked everything filthy. And it was amazing just to watch him and listen to him talk. He liked his women filthy. He seldom took baths. He worked all the time to get back to his women. So I just would I always used to look at him as king of the dirt bombs. That's all I used to think when I would come to talk to him. I would be thinking, king of the dirt bombs. You know, he liked everything filthy. He liked his life filthy. He liked his women filthy. And he reveled in it. He talked about it all the time. He wasn't one of them people that was ashamed of it. He enjoyed it, and he liked getting people riled. When he would talk about it and people would walk away from him, he loved it. He would get off on it. So yeah, he was.
Now some people, right? Now you describe a guy who his whole life is putting in as many hours he can in a day working.
Yeah.
In order to pay for his lifestyle, his sexual desires.
Yeah.
Now, how much more different is that than a professional guy, an attorney or a doctor or a cinematographer who might put in a 15-hour day because he wants to have his trophy wife.
Not that.
Right?
Not
that. I mean, a drive is a drive. You know what I mean?
A drive is a drive.
But is it the same thing, or is this more of a base, almost Neanderthal type of gut instinct type of thing going on?
I mean, isn't those dudes on Wall Street going on a gut Neanderthal type of instinct? Yeah, they trying to get that money, working them long hours to get that. It's the same thing. He paid his taxes. That's why I never could say that to him. Yeah. He worked, he paid his taxes, they had a service he wanted, he paid for that service. He was a good Samaritan. So that's why I never could get mad at him. I was like, he's not bothering nobody. He's paying his bills. He get up, come to work. It's just his time away from work.
That's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does. His time away from work. So you could never. Only thing I faulted him on is not taking showers. That's it.
And we're gonna get to that in a little bit.
That's it.
I want to get back onto the shower part. But I had the question here and it just left my mind. I'm sorry about that. So Harris has a very peculiar, a philosophy, if you will, of how he sees his women.
Yeah.
Right. He believes that these prostitutes and these strippers are goddesses who should be worshipped.
Yeah.
He refers to the strip club as the temple.
Mm-hmm.
He refers to himself as a believer.
Man.
He has his drive or his thirst for this is a whole philosophy, almost a religion behind it.
Yeah.
Now, you said that he calls these women his women, he's probably his girls or whatever. Now, is this just an extension of his delusion, or is this a genuine because as I'm reading it, I'm like, when you look at a strip club, I mean you see the man mesmerized, by the woman's
exactly
her shape, her fit, her scent, her musk.
Exactly.
And he's mesmerized as
it's a spiritual.
You can call it a worshiping.
Yeah, it's worshiping.
How is it? You throw money at the preacher. It's almost
it's the same thing.
Because at first I'm like, this dude's crazy, but then you start thinking because
exactly.
when people call women goddesses, they don't say set forward.
Exactly.
There's something. I think that's a very interesting thing about this guy because he's a dirtball.
He's a dirtball. Yeah.
He's a dirtball, but yet he has almost a respect for women that a lot of men don't.
Exactly.
Some respectable don't have.
When I first met him and he would first be talking, I thought he was crazy. But the stories would be so deep and so spiritual in nature that that a part of the poet mind of me would start staring at him, and I would be like, well, maybe this dude is a god, a lust god or something and fell to earth, man. That's all he talk about. I used to be thinking that. I was like, that's why I wrote it like I wrote it, because I'd be looking at him some days and be like, that's all this guy do. And he'd be talking about it in such spiritual ways. I'd be like, well, hell, maybe this dude is a lust god, of the earth. Yeah. And so when I wrote the book, I said, you know what? I wrote it using like a god archetype. I wrote his character as if he was a Pan or a Dionysus. That's how I wrote him, because I started looking at him and said, hell, he might be. Yeah, we don't know that, but you don't know. It's just like you got gangsters gangsters, whether they realize it or not, they worshiping a blood god because they got to get out there and kill to survive, you know, and they chose to go out there and do that. Well, he's worshiping these women. He's going to the strip club, giving them money, taking a hotel, having sex with them. That's his life. He's dedicated his life to prostitutes. So hell, he is a sex god, you know, he is a worshiper of gods of lust. So that's why I figured, I said, man, I'm going to write him like he's a god of lust, and all these women are his women, because that's how he used to talk about him like that. I said, this dude is really a worshiper. Yeah. So that's why I designed his character like that.
Well, you know, being that we're talking about Atlanta, right, and we know Harris, and we actually, if you live in Atlanta, you know there's a bunch of those Harrises out there. There's a
bunch of them.
And, you know, the city of Atlanta kind of has a reputation for sexual hedonism.
Oh yeah.
And strip clubs and swinger clubs, and
people
come here to reinvent themselves sexually, things that they couldn't do. I used to always say a lot of these guys that you see, the gay guys you see who are like more flaming, if you will. I'm not sure if that's the correct term.
Yeah.
I think
flaming.
I guarantee they probably came from somewhere where that wasn't acceptable.
No.
And if you ask some of those people where, you know, such and such, like, oh, I didn't know he was doing it like that. And I said it to say where, and not just, you know, from a homosexual standpoint, but just from a sexual liberation or whatever. So I think the point I'm getting at is, do you think that there's something that's baked into the city? Because you kind of hit on it in the book of you know, this. It's kind of baked into the clay of this sexual hedonism in the city.
Oh yeah, it's been in the red clay from the inception. You know, Atlanta was birthed from the gold rush of Dahlonega and Aurora and the slavery in Macon. And these men needed a place to get them some liquor and some vagina. Atlanta was their city. It was a border town. It was a frontier town. You know, and the men would come there, and they had the brothels there. They would come there to have sex, you know. And then the build up to the Civil War, Atlanta was the logistics depot for the Confederacy. You know, if you know anything about armies back then, they would have trails of prostitutes following them. And then you had Sherman, his army came to burn Atlanta down and had trails of prostitutes following them. So you got two groups of prostitutes congregating. Then after Atlanta got burnt down, they had to build it back up. You had all these white Southerners come to help build Atlanta back up. The prostitutes ain't going nowhere because the money flowing around, you know. And then in like 1908, the prostitution was so bad they had to make an organization for the prostitution. So they made the Bureau of Investigations, which became the FBI. Yes, the FBI was started from the prostitution in Atlanta. And then in the 1942, prostitution was still off the chain, because World War II, you got all these bases in Georgia. And so all the soldiers on break would come to Atlanta to party. They was going back to the bases, getting ready to go to war. All of them had syphilis. So they named Atlanta the syphilis capital of the world. So Atlanta always had, perverse and risque life. It's just Atlanta's business people and their Chamber of Commerce always been good at showing Atlanta in a good light for business purposes. It's always been a great business city. But yeah, Atlanta always been a risque city, man, from its inception. And that perverseness of Atlanta, it went inside Harris. You know, it went inside Harris through them prostitutes. It went inside Harris, and then true to the form, I wrote Harris as he's a lust archetype, and he represents the risque side of Atlanta. But true to archetypes, they always are reflections of each other. So it's like the lust of Atlanta comes through the prostitutes into Harris, but then Harris sends it right back to Atlanta through the whole storytelling. That's why when he's telling the stories in the book, he always got the skyline in the back. Yeah. So he's not just telling the story to me and James, my sidekick, he's telling the story to the city of Atlanta too. You know, giving her honor for the honor she gave him. But yeah, Atlanta always is baked in the red clay. People don't know that Atlanta is just as risque as Memphis or New Orleans, always been. But Atlanta just had better business people who knew how to cover it up. But yeah.
Atlanta get it all. It get it honest.
Yeah. Get it honest. They get it honest, and been doing it for a long time.
Because many of people have come here and for a day, for a weekend trip. They like, I ain't going back.
I ain't going back.
9 times out of 10, it has to do with that.
It has to do. Always has to do with that. Yeah, it always has to do with that.
You might find a job, you might go, but 9 times out of 10 is because they didn't ran up on something they couldn't find at the crib.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people coming, a lot of people come down here to redefine themselves. Nobody knows you. Start all over again.
They ain't judging.
Yeah.
I had one female poet from the New England area, and she was complaining about, well, people don't like it. If I want to have me 2 boyfriends, I can have me 2 boyfriends. If I want to have it. I said, love, you come here, it wouldn't even be a second. You wouldn't have a second. People wouldn't even be paying you any attention.
Which is why I think that you get an influx. It's, like I said, a lot of people look at it like, homosexuals come here, or this and but it's really just everybody coming here exploring a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something that.
And people gonna mind their business. People gonna like, you know what, y'all doing it over there, I'm gonna be over here.
Yeah.
That's your life. Yeah, I'm doing me over here. You doing that over there? Okay, as long as you tell me you doing that over there, I'm good.
Yeah.
I always tell it when I go to other cities, and they would say, man, you live in Atlanta, all that old gay stuff going on. I said, well, at least you see it. You know where it's at. In Atlanta, you can turn and go the other way because you know where it's at. I said, these other cities, they be hiding it. You don't know where it's at. It'll jump out on you. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta, I know in Midtown on Saturday night, I know the women walking down the street ain't women. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know them Trinas and Jonies in Midtown on Saturday night with them nice dresses, them nice bodies. I know them ain't women. I know them ain't organic women. I know, hey, I don't got no business in Midtown on Saturday night.
When I first moved here, that was on Peachtree. You would ride down Peachtree, the main strip in Atlanta.
Exactly.
That used to bug me out because when I first got here, I thought they were women.
Exactly. Exactly, because you was new.
Because I was just riding. I was
exactly.
Like, wow, they got this open. And then I think I heard one of them talk one time. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, these aren't women out here.
So, so I appreciate that. They let you know this is how we getting down in this section of the city. So I know which section of the city I need to maneuver around, So, yeah.
So one of the interesting things that I liked about the book was how you talk about the prostitutes, right? A lot of time in literature and film and things, the prostitute, particularly when she has to do business with a guy like Harris who's unkept and smells bad, where it's, it's all about the money, hurry up, wham bam, give me my check.
Yeah.
But these ladies seem to have a lot of sexual liberation, sexual agency, like they are fully participating in Harris's fantasies, not as just I'm here as a vessel, but I'm with it too.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose? Because I think we're talking about maybe like the bigger thing of how obviously a lot of prostitutes get into it for they might be drug addicts, but maybe that's not the case for everybody.
No, that's not the case for everybody. You have just as many nymphos out there as you have women who just out there for the money. We always talk about the women out there for the money, or the women who done got forced into it, but they never talk about the other women out there, the women who go out there for a power trip, and they can control men by going out there. We never talk about the nymphomaniacs who go out there. They're nympho, and so they go out there, might as well make money and enjoy what I'm doing and making money. You got those type of women out there. Everybody who go out there ain't forced to go out there. It's just like you got people choose to be gangsters, people choose to be pimps. You got people that in the underworld that they choose to be prostitutes. That's part of it too. They don't never say it in the media. They try to make it like all women that go out there are victims. No, all women go out there, especially in the first world countries. In third world countries, a lot of them are strong on into it and become sex traffic victims. But in America, in the first world country, with all our laws, a lot of those women choose to go out there, and they get addicted to the hustle of it, to the money, and they get addicted to, you controlling men. You controlling them, dude. You got them men in the palm of your hand. Them men getting away from their wives and coming and lay up with you and telling you, oh, you so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, the women go back to their pimps and talk about it and laugh about it and you know, and crack up about it. But yeah, man, that's another element that people don't talk about. You don't supposed to talk about that now in this woke culture. You don't supposed to talk about the women who actually chose to go out there into the prostitution. You know, all of them supposed to be victims, but no, all of them are not victims. Some of them are
paid well. I mean, all of them ain't, you know, yeah. I think you might have had when crack came in, it kind of lowered the price of that industry. But I think there are some high end.
Oh man, it's one hotel I used to work at, brother, and I want to give y'all a little story. One hotel I used to work at, man, and see, I used to do security at this hotel, and so I knew all of the upscale prostitutes that came in, and upscale prostitutes, they don't be really dressed like street prostitutes. They be dressed in like business suits and everything. But since I was a security there, I knew them, they came in. But
so you knew all the undercover hoes?
I knew all the undercover hoes. And then when the University of Alabama played, there a lot of white dudes like the prostitutes, right? And so this one that always dressed business gear, she came in a leather cat suit with a fur scarf all the way down to the ground. And she knew I knew what she did. She came and stopped by me and did a spin and shook her hips and then went on up the stairs. I said, she finna enjoy herself tonight. Yeah. So yeah.
I knew a young lady who was a dancer here, and she prostituted as well. And she never seemed upset about it. It was kind of like, oh, I'm getting ready to go have some fun and make some money.
Exactly. So yeah, so it's two sides to every story. So yeah, you have the victims out here, you have some that's forced into it, but then you got the other side. You got some people looking for the thrill. They're looking for the thrill of the hunt, you know, and they enjoy it, or they're nymphos.
And there's no shortage of Harrises out there willing.
There's no shortages. Hey, they don't ever come.
I want to thank everyone who tuned into this latest episode of What It Do Book Review with our author, the infamous Cola Rum. Cola, can you tell us where they can find the book?
At www.colarum.net.
Thank you very much, brother. And until next time, what it do, y'all?
What it do?